Hello and welcome to our look at Max Mustard, a new 3D platformer that's available on the Quest as of now, hopefully. This is a 3D platformer in the vein of Lucky's Tale, Astrobot, Ven VR Adventure. And I think, Lee, it's one we saw, was it on the Upload VR showcase? I can't quite remember. It's one we've been sort of looking forward to.
Yeah, definitely. It was a while back, wasn't it? That it was supposed to be coming out earlier on, is this the one that's supposed to come out on App Lab, but it's actually been released on the store? I can't remember, but
yeah, it was going to be on App Lab a few weeks earlier, but then they got bumped up straight to the main store. Yeah. So Max Mustard is a 3D platformer in the vein, like we say, of Astrobot, etc. And I've played through the entire game, and I found it a pretty decent experience. But we'll get into that. There are a few caveats, etc. And it's a standard sort of 3D platforming fare, really. The camera sort of moves along in a sort of forward motion for the entire game. You can sort of flick the camera left and right at times, if you need to get a peek around a corner or whatever. But for the most part, you're constantly sort of moving forward through the levels it gives you. Lee, how far have you actually got on this?
Right. So I'm still on the first arena map thing. I think there's 4 altogether, right? But I'm on the first one, and I've got to some sort of beatbox level. It kind of reminds me of the old Nintendo one, where you used to play it on is it Mario Galaxy? We used to shake the Wii U controllers, and it used to flick the platforms left and right where you could jump on. Well, this kind of moves.
I've never played Mario Galaxy. I never had a Wii, no.
Yeah, I played a bit of that, and it kind of gives me that kind of feel to it. But the blocks disappear when the music changes to a different thing and stuff like that. Well, yeah, that one's it's sending me nuts on there. So I've that's as far as I've got, and I'm kind of enjoying it. I don't know, because this is why I want to speak to you, because I want to know if there's more to it than what I've been played, or is it more of the same for each kind of level? Do you know what I mean? Because there was one level where, right at the beginning, I think I'm not really spoiling anything here, it's like a water rapid level. You're going down in a boat thing. That was kind of cool. Yeah. That was a bit different to what I was, used to be playing, but that's why I want to speak to you. What do you think?
It's sort of a bit of a, yes, it's more of the same with the occasional bit of, no, it's not all the same.
Right.
And I think this is where the sort of lower, should we say lower budget game sort of comes in compared to something like Astrobot. It's very nicely done and everything, but especially the first world definitely gave me vibes of, I'm seeing the same thing again and again and again here. All the creatures just seem to be the same creatures through that first world. And it's sort of, that happened on the second stage as well, and then gradually a few extra little bits, variations crept in, the odd extra new creature and everything. But I think, the budget compared to something like, something funded by Sony, for example, sort of shows. But at the same time, it's still very nicely done.
It's very pretty looking, right? It's got that cartoony looking feel. But like you say, with the monsters, I think there's some that like trudge around. I don't find those a great difficulty to beat. The monsters are, you can buy upgrades, can't you? So I bought like a spin kick at the shop, and so I just spin kick it or just jump on them like you do a Mario type thing. You jump on the heads and that kills them. And so far they're not really challenging, but it's not those that's challenging me. It's the angles that's doing me. Right. So it's a little tricky. While it works, I'd say 90% of the time for me it works in VR. It's really, really clever. Some of the bits where you do sideways kind of confused me a little bit, and I found myself on one level, there was like fire beams coming around, and I kept jumping off this ledge and missing it altogether because I just couldn't get the angle right in my head. It's like, no, I don't need to jump left, I need to jump back and diagonal slightly to get on it. But because it looked left to me, that's the way I was doing it. I get really confused with the angles on this one, and it can be a little frustrating, whether that's because I'm a platform noob or that's the game in general. And some of the camera angles, because it's like a fixed camera angle, isn't it, that you start with? Yeah. And when Max goes up or down, you've got to look up or look actually down in your headset to see where Max is. That can be a little distracting. I did lose Max a little bit sometimes. Now, I was playing this sat down, so that could be a thing. Maybe if you stood up, you can turn around and see where Max was. But I was moving Max, and I'm like, whoa, where is she? I can't see it. And she was behind where I was.
Behind,
so I did that a couple of times. So the camera does take a little bit of getting used to, but like you say, it is a forward, like, rotating thing. It does move forward. I did go forward on one part, then when I got that gum, and it was like sucking plants up and stuff and it giving you coins. I thought, oh, is that what it does? And I turned around to go back to the beginning part of the map, but you can't. You can see it, You can see where the beginning part is, but you can't actually go back. So when you move forward, you can't go back further to where you just came from.
This seems to be a thing with these games, doesn't it? Because Astrobot, and I think Ven as well, was exactly the same.
Yeah.
Once you've moved forward to a particular point, you can't make the camera go backwards. And obviously, you can turn around. If you've gone past something, you can turn around to get to something in your immediate area and move your character back there. But you can't move backwards. And it can be awkward occasionally, but it's something that affects all these types of games for some reason. I think it's a comfort choice, a design decision to try and keep things comfortable, not make people motion sick. But I really do wish you could go backwards, or at least have an option in the menus where you can turn it on to say, yes, allow me to go backwards.
I've missed a bit. I need to go back. I missed one at rescuing one of the little creatures. I thought, no, I've gone past it, but I couldn't go back. So I had to reload the level up to get back to it. But maybe they've made it like that intentionally or not. I don't know.
I think so. I think they've just copied that design straight from what already exists. So it's no different, but I still think it can be annoying at times.
It's challenging. I thought it'd be easy. I mean, I've seen people's reviews. I've seen GT and Welsh Gamers said that this was his game of the year so far, and they were really loving it. But I'm thinking, this is tricky. I mean, I'm not great at gaming anyway, but I find this quite hard.
And your phone going off.
Yeah, sorry about that.
5 minutes later.
What I will say, though, is that it's quite difficult. I find it very challenging on some of the levels. I mean, the first couple are just to warm you up, really, get used to the controls and such. But then there was one, like I said, where I was jumping across, trying to dodge flames. That took me like 15 minutes to do. The beatbox one, I can't do that one. I'm stuck. So to say it's for kids, I don't know. If these kids are really, really good at gaming, I guess, and they can pick up the controls quick, then I mean,
I mean, it is very cartoony, but I don't know if I'd call it for kids. It was just, I'd say, just the right amount of challenging for me, to the point that I'd get to certain points of some levels where the difficulty spike would suddenly shoot up.
Yeah.
Quite drastically. And it'd take me maybe 3, 4, or 5 attempts to get past one section, and then I'd be fine for the rest of that level. I think you said you'd heard that it was about 8 hours long.
About 8 hours.
I'd say for me, it took me 6. The first map, because there's 4 maps altogether, the first map, looking at the clock, it took me about an hour and a half. And that also included me sort of reloading it and messing about with some Quest Game Optimizer settings as well. So about an hour and a half for the first map. I didn't time the second and third maps, but they felt about the same. I did put a stopwatch on the final map, and that took me an hour 25.
Right.
So an hour and a half per map, it for me was 6 hours. But like I say, I never really got stuck. Just a few areas where I had to have a few attempts on very specific sections. And it is checkpointed, quite regularly you'll get a checkpoint. So if you fail, you're straight back to the point.
Yeah, I need a checkpoint like 20 seconds after the checkpoint because I just totally suck. But what we'll say is we did both run this using Quest Games Optimizer, right? I think we both settled on like a 2300 resolution. It is a little blurry when you first load it up. I think they've done this for Quest 2 first. It is out on the Quest 2, right? And to get it working on that, and then it even says on it when you load the game up, there's a resolution increase incoming. So maybe this is day one patch. I've heard a few things. Like GT mentioned some problems that he had that he mentioned to the devs, and it's all first day patch. It's all going to be fixed. So maybe some issues what we both had might be fixed on day one. But yeah, looking at this up-res, it looked pretty good. Yeah. It looked a lot better. It ran super smooth. I'd like to see the frame rate a little higher. Whether they can get it touch it on 90 or not, I don't know.
Okay, so this is the very weird thing. There's something very odd going off with this game, and I mentioned to you this on Discord. I don't think you've really seen it like I have, but
not yet.
The game, because I was getting so confused. I loaded up OVR metrics, and it was running at 72 hertz. It was running at a stable 72 frames a second for most of the time. The odd occasional little dip on the graph, but nothing major. Most of the time, 72 frames a second. Your character was moving smooth. Your head movement was perfectly smooth. There's no signs of reprojection at all, from what I could see, or according to the OVR metrics. Yet some of the things in the world did not look smooth. They looked slightly juddery. And it's mainly sort of like larger objects in the world, or like the big sort of like you get these big plungers what come out the wall sometimes, or cannonballs that get shot at you, and they didn't look smooth. Yet everything else, your hand controllers, your character, the other enemies, they look smooth. So it was like this mismatch of smoothness and judderiness. I'd put money on it being that some things in the game world are only updated every other frame. And maybe it's a performance saving measure. I'm not entirely sure. Because it's not an overall game performance measure. Because a lot of the stuff is literally running at 72 frames.
Yeah, this is not reprojected, right? This is a constant 72 frames, yeah.
It's 72 frames a second. It is not reprojected. It's just some specific things in the world, every now and then, don't move smoothly. And I'm wondering if it's like maybe it's like a CPU or GPU performance thing for the Quest 2, where on one frame they update some items and on the next frame they update other items. So you're not maxing out the CPU and GPU. Because I wondered what was going on at first. And according to the metrics on the Quest 3, there is loads of overhead.
Yeah.
The GPU and CPU levels were running at 2 to 3. And what do they go up to? 5, maybe 6 on the GPU now if you use Quest Games Optimizer. So I was wondering what was going on. And then, of course, I thought, oh, hang on a minute. This is on Quest 2 as well.
Yeah.
I mean, I did boot it up on Quest 2 to just have a quick look at the first level. And it looks identical to the Quest 3 version, assuming you've not used Quest Games Optimizer to upscale it. So there's plenty of overhead there, I think, for them to do something with the Quest 3. As of yet, and we're recording this a few hours before the game actually comes out, so maybe there will be a patch at launch. Yeah. I hope there is. Be. And I think more than anything, it's that weird issue that stopped me going, oh wow, this is amazing. Because if anybody's listened to Recentered before, then you know my bugbear is performance over anything, over sort of graphical fidelity or resolution or texture sizes or anything else. I like performance to be smooth and solid at whatever given, frequency the headset's running at. And it wasn't, and it put a bit of a downer on it for me in what was otherwise a game that I actually enjoyed. And like I say, I played through to the end. There are a few things I wish had been done a bit better. The sort of scale, they don't play with scale very much. It's generally reserved to the boss battles at the end of each map, where you'll get a big boss in front of you, sort of Astrobot style. But playing through the rest of the game, everything seems more or less scaled around the size of your character. It doesn't really do anything big and massive and suddenly, hugely impressive from a VR, massive scale point of view. I think there was one exception to that rule. There's a space level later on. And that
I'll probably never see.
The sense of scale on that was all of a sudden like, oh, this just looks bigger, and they don't play with that at all, really.
No. It had some good parts with you pick up like a plunger gun, right? So you've got that in your right hand, and then you're jumping around with Max in the other hand, and you're firing plungers at things. And I do quite like that. I like the little mini game type things they have between some of the levels. They're quite cool. The shop's quite a clever idea. Very strange, but I kind of find it kind of cute that you had to buy snap turning to be able to turn your character around.
That's a really weird decision and worth pointing out. Yeah, if you want to snap turn so you can sort of more like you, I played sitting down. I was on my sofa, so it was easy just to snap turn every now and again when I needed to. But you have to buy that as an upgrade from the shop, which is like, huh?
I mean, it's a good job that I did play it for a little bit, because I thought, I'm at options. I'm an accessibility guy. If you probably heard the podcast, you'll know that. And when you go in the options, there are none. So it's like, okay, I'm slightly nervous and slightly wound up already. But when you get into the game, you can totally see why. There's definitely no teleport option in it. If you're new to VR, I don't know if it's the frame rate that's making me slightly motion sick. I am getting slightly motion sick playing it, but I do believe it's frame rate what does that to me every single time. I'm hoping it gets a bump to 90. I really do. I think that will cure that.
You can run this at 90. You can run this at 90 and scaled up.
I didn't want to risk it at 90 because I just set it at 2300 and I thought I'll leave everything else dynamic and just leave it runs at 90, yeah?
It manages it. I actually even tried at 120 and occasionally it manages to hold 120, but it fails more than it then it succeeds at that. So that's
I can see them bringing a patch out. It's usually about a week or so, isn't it? Because what's going to come out, people are going to start moaning about how it looks and things like that, and they're going to say, look, we've got a patch coming out in a couple of weeks. I totally get now that they've got to get this game right for Quest 2, because that's the most headsets that's out there at the minute, right?
Yeah.
And then do the fix for Quest 3. That's going to be an optional patch for us Quest 3 users. But
yeah, if by the time they release this, if they haven't patched it for Quest 3 resolution-wise, Quest 3 owners might be a little bit upset, because the aliasing is really noticeable. The resolution is noticeably lower than you might want.
Yeah, it's quite blurry.
But if you've got Quest Game Optimizer, you can sort that out yourself. So you can bump it up quite a bit and bump the frame rate up to 90 as well.
So yeah, if we get that, then I'll be happy. And I might even try and do some more levels. I keep jumping back in it, but I'm just getting that frustrated.
Yeah.
If you get frustrated easily playing a game, then maybe this one isn't for you. But maybe it's, like I say, it's just my poor gaming skills. Roger said he got stuck a couple of goes on things, and it's taking me like 20, 30 goes on some bits to get through.
Yeah, this is the thing. It's a lot of people said Ven was a sort of like hard as nails game. I thought it was challenging, but I didn't think it was as hard as some other people did. So maybe maybe I'm better at 3D platformers than I am at other genres, because I suck at some other genres, definitely. But, I played Astrobot, I platinumed Astrobot, I've played Ven, Lucky's Tale.
Well, this is what we want, isn't it? We all want the Astrobot, but we're not getting it. So is this the next best thing to it? Well, on Quest 3, yeah, definitely. It's, I think, this type of genre on Quest is I think it's really good.
Yeah, there's not a lot of it either.
No.
So if you're after a 3D platformer, it's a definite recommendation.
They should definitely make some more of these.
Yeah, it's just, I think it needed a bigger budget. Like, at one point, you're in a minecart and you sort of get dropped off the edge, don't you? There's 1 or 2 points it does that, where it just drops you off the edge of somewhere. Because I've not played much VR recently.
Yeah.
Just for a second, my stomach sort of just fluttered as I sort of like dropped down into the water.
Yeah.
I thought, I've not experienced that in a while. And it puts you underwater for a second, your viewpoint. And I thought, they're doing they're doing an Astrobot thing again. But then it takes you back above the water and you're back on dry land. So I thought, can you dive in? So I jumped in the water and then immediately died.
Yeah.
So,
I do a lot of dying. Like I said, it's just I'm going to have the same thing again. The angles things, I've got to try and get used to, get your head around. It is tricky when you're trying to jump to some areas. And that's the only thing, really. I've just got to get a bit better at that and a bit more. You've got to try and be spatially aware of 3D while you're playing the game in 3D. Does that make any sense? Probably not. But yeah, it's a bit tricky.
Yeah. That's the thing, though, with 3D platformers, they can... This game on a flat screen would have, I think I'd have rage quit, because it's the spatial awareness that makes some of the trickiest stuff actually manageable, that I always find with these sorts of games. I'm trying to think of anything else to sort of to comment on. The music, I think that was probably a minor, it's not
it gets annoying, don't it, after a bit? It started to annoy me after a bit. It's just same sort of thing, isn't it? Again and again and again.
It didn't annoy me, but at the same time, it didn't add anything to the game whatsoever. There's, what I mean? You'll finish playing this game, and it's like, I'm sat here now, I'm trying to think what was any of the tunes out of that game, and I couldn't hum one in my head if I tried.
Yeah.
It was just all forgettable. There was nothing, like, I can still remember Astrobot music from now, and I haven't played that in years.
Get a little hum of that then, Rog, please.
I'm going to cut this bit out.
Oh no, I'm going to say, let us know in the comments if that is the Astrobot music, please. Thank you very much.
The upgrades as well. I thought they were pretty minor to the point of being negligible and not necessary. All the way through to the end of the game, I was still killing stuff by just jumping on it.
Yeah.
The spinny attack for me didn't work because I wanted it, when you did the spinny attack, I wanted a slight sort of movement forward as well. So you sort of rushed and span. So
I know
but you don't get any increase in speed. So you really have to time the spin. And I was dying 5 times out of 10 trying to do a spin attack. So I just kept jumping on stuff.
Yeah. I mean, the only things I bought is the spin attack, and I bought the snap turning. And I've seen a couple of the other ones, which was like collect more coins when you kill more bad guys, or get faster speed when you're running. And that, I thought, well, I don't really need. I'm happy as I am now. So, like you say, you going through them and seeing all the other upgrades and that, and if it's not really worth, then I don't know.
The one what probably was worth it is like you get like a flames for your jet boots, so you can just hover over creatures and kill them instead. You don't have to actually land on them to jump on them. So that was worth getting. I mean, I got everything apart from right towards the end. There's a cheap mode box you can buy what costs 12,000 coins. And that's the only thing I didn't have any
12,000? I've got like 6. In fact, I don't even got that, and I'm like halfway through level 1.
Yeah. Oh, talking of the upgrades, there are a couple of things which seem to be bugs. You get like, at one point early on, you get like a heart upgrade you can buy. So you get 3 hearts.
Oh yeah, I did buy that. I remember now. Yeah, I bought a heart upgrade.
Did it do anything?
Yeah, I think I start... Oh, actually, I don't know. I'll have to check. I don't know if it starts with 2 or not. Because you start with 1 heart all the while, don't you?
No, you have 3. You have 3 hearts.
I only start with 1. I know you've got 3 hearts altogether, but I only start with 1 of them full.
Oh, with one of them full, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you can collect those in boxes, don't you? The boxes you smash, you collect the hearts. But yeah, you've got 3 basically heart containers, sort of Zelda heart containers you can fill. I bought the first heart upgrade and nothing seemed to happen. I was expecting to add a 4th one, and it didn't do anything. And afterwards I thought, maybe it filled a container. And I thought, well, that was expensive just to fill a container when you can just pick these up in the level.
Yeah,
that doesn't seem right.
I thought that as well.
Later on, there was another one further on towards the end, and I had 1 heart in my container at the time. And if you finish a level with 1 heart, you start the next level with 1 heart. It doesn't start you back off on full heart. No, and it didn't. So I bought the second heart upgrade, which is like 1,500 coins. Didn't fill any heart containers up. Didn't add anything. As far as I could tell, the heart containers don't work.
Yeah, probably that's one of the bugs they're going to be fixing then. I didn't notice, to be honest. I know I just upgraded it 1 and I thought, maybe it gives me 2 hearts to start with. Yeah. And then, you get the first heart thing, I've got 3, and it gives me a better chance to try and get through the level.
No, that's the one thing I sort of found annoying as well. If you sort of died, it just puts you back at the checkpoint, that's fine. It does, yeah. But it only gives you 1 heart. So if you've just gone through a level where you had 3 hearts and you've lost them all trying, it then puts you back at the checkpoint with 1 heart, so it puts you back in a situation where you've now, unless there's any more hearts to collect in the section coming up, you're stuck with 1 heart and you've got to get to the next checkpoint and not take a hit. And I think that's what killed me more than anything when I was getting to tricky areas where I was having to redo stuff, because I was having to go through some areas with only 1 heart.
I understand what you mean. Perhaps they'll sort that out with a patch, maybe, or perhaps they might be aware of it. I mean, what I will say for level design, the ones I have played, they are mixing it up a little bit, and I think they are quite intuitive. Some parts are clever, some parts are a little hidden where you've got to try, I realised I've jumped up there and I got that. I did, like I said, just trying to find the angles. When you're looking above and you're moving Max around, and she was like running across this grate to try and rescue a little alien person, I was like moving at like 1 centimetre because I just I kept falling off all the time. So it's just that bit that's really struggling with. But I thought the levels, what I've played so far, are really clever.
I didn't have a problem with that, but maybe the old Astrobot experience helped me out there. I don't know. As far as anything else, I think there was one other bug I found, just in case the devs are listening to this. If you actually finish the game and get to the end credit screen, apart from the fact that there's no music until about, 30 seconds to a minute into the end credits, and then suddenly the music kicks in. That's a bit strange. But it starts playing the sort of the general sort of Max Mustard theme then. If you go back to the map select after you finish the game and go into another level that's got another piece of music, it then plays both pieces of music at the same time going through the level. Yeah, right. So they missed that one.
I've no doubt the devs are listening to this, dude. So I'm sure they'll pick up on that.
Yeah, overall, I had a good time with it. Each time I came out of it, I played, let's say, 6 hours, and I probably did each session. I did maybe half the map at a time, so probably 45. Apart from the first session, I did the first world in one go, and the rest of the worlds I did at like about half the levels each. By the time I'd finished the game, I had 86 out of, I think it's 90. Is it mud pups? It calls the little creatures you collect.
That's it.
I think there's 90 overall, because I went back and looked at the map and there was 4 I was missing. So I'd got 86 out of 90. So I've not rushed the game. I've got 86 out of 90 of the things you can collect. And I say it took about 6 hours. If 3D platformers aren't your thing, it may well take you 8, 10, 12 hours if you have to keep replaying stuff.
It's probably directed more to me if everyone's listening than anything. But yeah, I do get what you mean. Yeah, but I mean, just the shortcomings of the game that I have are basically my shortcomings as a gamer in general, that I'm not very good.
Yeah.
But if you're not into platformers, you might struggle a little bit and get a bit frustrated. But keep going with it. I'm going to go back to it. I am enjoying what I'm playing, and in between levels, it's kind of cool. It's got like a 3D map, and you're inside Max's like van or truck or whatever it is, and that's pretty good. And have you noticed when you leave her alone, she starts yawning and stuff like that? She does that. I've seen that on the map because I was stood like looking at things, and she just stood there, starts yawning because she was bored with me.
Yeah. Oh, it's a like I say, it's a nice enough game. It's worth buying especially if you're a Quest only gamer. If you do have or did have a PSVR 1, you do have to try and put Astrobot aside, because you will keep trying to compare it to Astrobot, and it shouldn't really, because obviously it's Sony budget versus a more independent sort of development.
I mean, these are the same guys that did Rich's Plank, right?
It is, yeah. It's the same guys. There is a larger team there, though. It's not just like one or two people. If you look at the credits, there's a few people involved, a fair few people involved.
Overall, it's pretty well done, right? Apart from a few bugs that hopefully will get fixed, and I'd like to see a res increase. I'd like to see a frame rate increase for the Quest 3. Then I'm happy. I mean, I can do all that anyway in Quest Games Optimizer, which I probably will, but to have something like that default out of the box would be nice, and hopefully they'll get to do that.
Yeah, the resolution at the moment, unless they've actually patched it at this point, the resolution is the sort of the biggest problem, I'd say, that most people might sort of criticise or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyway, thank you very much to Impact Reality for giving us access to the game early. This isn't available probably now on the Oculus Store, on the MetaQuest Store, for $30 or £23, and of course, that's going to be a bit cheaper if you use a good old 25% off referral code. Anyway, thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you on the next one. Cheers, everyone.
Take care. That was cool, dude.
And now a 3-hour edit.
I don't think there's a bit where my daughter phones up, and you can always leave that in if you want, don't really matter. I think that's about it, isn't it? I think you'll be okay. Dear. Let me just stop this recording.
I'll see.
Dude, how long was that?
I've definitely not got enough footage.